All right, well, welcome to the Three Principles Global Community Webinar. The Three Principles Global Community, or 3PGC, is a nonprofit organization that is committed to bringing an understanding of the three principles as introduced by Sydney Banks to people throughout the world. And today we have Natasha Swerdloff, and she lives in Denmark and has been happily married to her husband, John, since 2011. She is a trained psychotherapist with almost 30 years of experience in leading groups, creating and conducting trainings, and working with individual clients. She has been self-employed since 1996, specializing in coaching, communication, and consulting in private and corporate settings in Denmark and around the world. When Natasha discovered the work of Sydney Banks in 2012, she experienced a transformation in all areas of her life and then decided to change the focus of her business to share the understanding known as the Three Principles. Natasha founded the Three Principles Institute and co-authored the book Coming Home with Dr. Dicken Bettinger. Today, Natasha is honored to serve as Vice President on the board of the Three Principles Global Community. She also shares her understanding at international Three Principles events, on podcasts, webinars, seminars, and conferences, and she has her own YouTube channel. So welcome, Natasha.
Thank you so much, Tom. And thanks everyone for being here. It's really wonderful. I want to start by reading a quote. You already have within you all that you need for psychological well-being. The capacity for love and understanding is already complete within you. Deep within, waiting to be uncovered, is your wisdom. It exists beyond anything that you are thinking. Now, that is from one of the first pages of the book that I co-authored with Dicken. So well-being has been on my mind for quite a few years now. And I'm still curious about where it brings me, where it leads me. So today I would love to speak about what I'm seeing now about well-being, because what I'm seeing has deepened a lot since we wrote that book back in 2015. And I want to go deeper into what it is that lies within us and how awakening to our true nature allows us to rest in this well-being more of the time. And I will also make sure that we have plenty of time for questions and answers. So what I've come to realize more deeply about well-being is that it seems to be the actual connection between the spiritual and the psychological. It's something that has no words. It's something that is beyond anything we can think. It's a space inside. It's not in the world of form. We're not looking for something in the world of form. We can't think ourselves to this well-being. There's nothing out there in the world of form that can bring us there. We can't will it. We can't focus our attention on it and then we arrive. So how do we know when we do arrive here? Because of course we do. And when we do, it comes with the feeling. So when I started to reflect more about well-being and what it really means, I started to seeing that the connection between the spiritual and the psychological, many of us have read Sydney Banks' books and listened to his videos. And so we already know that the answer is thought, that thought is the missing link between the psychological and the spiritual. But what I didn't realize until quite recently, actually, is that with thought, the spiritual power of thought, within that lies this feeling. And so it's when we awaken to this spiritual power, that we are allowing ourselves to notice this feeling inside. So I wanted to just go into a little bit what it is and why we are not here all the time. Why it's who we are. How can it feel like it's gone? And I was just reading, I love reading The Missing Link, and so I was reading something today as I was preparing for today. And he says, quite in the beginning, he says, at the moment of birth, the virgin mind discovers creation, and the duality of life is born. Henceforth, you live in a world governed by thought. And it really makes sense that we're born into this world, knowing that we are one with the world, completely fused with this world. And then we start listening to the people around us. We start to put words to things we see. We go lamp, mum, dad, cup, whatever it is. We start to say me, you, mine. A world of duality is created through our ego mind, through thinking. This is good, this is bad. We start to discern between different things. So we're always creating these two ways of judging things. And we get really good at it, most of us. Right? We start analyzing, we get jobs, we get into educations. And the more knowledge we get about the world of form, the more we are able to analyze things. And we can get so good at it that we completely forget that there's something inside that's always present. There's a knowing of oneness that doesn't disappear. But the knowing that we're born with, it feels like it's fading. It's not really fading, but it becomes like just a whisper. It is a whisper, though, that has this scent, like the scent of a rose. You like it, you want it, you want more of it. So it creates almost a sense of longing to be back home, to be resting in this sense of well-being. A well-being that's even beyond the psychological, although it has a psychological component. With our words, we would call it ease, peace, love, compassion. So there's this longing to be in touch with our true nature more of the time. But the world of duality that's constantly calling us, that's constantly going, come here, this is important, you need to take care of this. This is a real problem. You really need to look at this. It's constantly calling us and sometimes yelling at us. And so it feels like we're being pulled away from ourselves. But is that really possible? Can we be pulled away from ourselves? If I go one step to the right, I go with me. If I go one step to the left, I go with me as well. So it's not really something that's happening. It's simply the sense of who I am gets lost in all of these things that I'm filling my conceptual mind with, all these things that I think are important. And then once in a while, I fall back into this space inside and I just know that this is true. I don't necessarily notice that it's truth, but there's a feeling of well-being that feels so like home. It feels so natural. It can come at any moment. We go in and out of it all day long. Just a moment of looking out on something beautiful, looking at your pet. I was speaking to a client earlier today, and at one point in the conversation, he looked at his pet, and I saw him becoming completely present with his dog. And there was just this moment of relaxing into this space. And then he started talking again and sort of lost it a little bit. This is normal. We all do this. So the more we realize our true nature, the more we see that this is who I am. It doesn't really go away ever. It's just veiled by my thinking. It's veiled by my ego mind or my conceptual mind that's constantly screaming that I need to take care of business, that I need to get a job or do some work or make money or whatever it is. It's constantly yelling at us. So it can be difficult to hear this quiet whisper, this invitation that's always going on to be home more of the time. So what if you could feel more love than you ever thought possible? What if you could be more at peace than you've ever known? What if this is your natural state? What if these things were possible without any external circumstances being in a certain way? We're constantly saying to ourselves, well, when this week is over, then it'll be the weekend, then I will relax, or oh, it's a hard period right now, in 3 months, then it'll be over. It's like we're pushing time to a time where we think it's possible to fall into this space, not realizing that it goes with us wherever we are. And the paradox is that the more we realize our being, the more we rest in this space, the more effective we are in the world, the more alive we are, the more compassionate we are, the better we communicate with other people. Everything that we are looking for is already inside. It's so interesting how we're looking for something out there. Oh, I should take a course in communication to get better. That's what I used to do. Back in my corporate days, I would train people in better communication skills. It's so funny because we all communicate well when we're in a good state, right? And most of us communicate really badly when we're in a low state of mind, no matter how many communication courses we've taken. So we don't need it. What we need is to realize and wake up to everything we need is already here. It's like the dog running after its own tail and just stop. It's here right now. So we're born into this world and have a knowing. It's not an intellectual knowing, but there's a sense of oneness, of fusion with everything. Then we go through many years of education and this world of duality that's being created through our thinking mind. And then we get this incredible gift that we can wake up to the oneness again. It's like including everything that I've ever learned, but also transcending by knowing that the oneness is here. But I can't use my intellect to get there. It's not possible. The truth is in the silence. The truth is right here underneath the noise of the thinking. And I've noticed the more that I rest in this space, the more it feels like home. And I become more unwilling to leave it, meaning that when the drama of life tries to, come on, drama over here, do you want to go here? I'm like, well, not really. This feels really good. Yeah, but you need to deal with, and I'm like, I will deal with, but I deal and you deal with the world so much more effectively when we're coming from calmness, from peace. We are already connected to wisdom. It's our being. And when we let go of the contaminated mind, our personal mind, we are guided in a way that is beyond anything we can ever think our way to. For many of you, and I know this is true for me too, when I first came across the principles, the first thing that I noticed was everybody was saying, you're living in the feeling of your thinking. And it made so much sense to me. It was like immediately, it was like, wow, that's huge. That's so helpful. And I was really high for a long time. And then I noticed that knowing that wasn't enough. There came a point where it's like, well, I know this is just my thinking, but have you heard this sentence? I bet you have. I bet you've said it. So I wanted to go deeper. I wanted to explore what is a deeper truth than that. That was around the time that I met my dear friend Dickin, and we started writing the book together and exploring what is the deeper truth? Who are we? What is our essence? So through our book and through our conversations and through the years that I've been sharing these principles around the world, it's become more and more obvious. It's more and more a felt experience inside of me that we are connected, that all is one, that we are energy, that everything is energy, whether in form or formless. That these three principles are simply three different ways of speaking about creation. There's something that creates every single moment of our experience. And the creation itself is loving. Why do I use the word love? I do because pure love doesn't have conditions. Pure love doesn't have judgment. Pure love doesn't have boundaries. So creation itself is love. It has created all the people in the world, no matter what they end up doing with their life. It has created everyone and everything. All of nature, all of animals, all of us. We're all being born from the formless into form. Another way of saying that is that we are creation in action. We are the principles in action. And we get to experience life through these three principles, through creative thought, the potential to think anything. What a gift. What amazing things have been invented through this amazing gift. We have this gift of divine consciousness. Wow. That we are able to be conscious of everything we think, feel, experience, of everything around us. We have this divine mind. And the divine mind is not separate from our personal mind. Our personal mind is just one way that we use this divine mind. So the deeper I understand the principles, the deeper I understand what it is that creates my experiences from moment to moment, the deeper I start to see I am part of this creation. Just like the wave in the ocean is still ocean. It's not apart from it. It's only just ocean. And that is what makes the difference. That is the transformative power that I've seen through my years of diving deeper into this beautiful understanding. Because when we realize that all is one, that we are connected, then that I'm thinking, my feeling is not so important anymore. It's a small thing. most of my thinking dissolves in the light of knowing who I am and what I am. So Sid had these two insights. The first one, that we live in a thought-created reality. That alone, wow, what a change in the world. But then the second one, which is the one I've been most drawn to, that everything is one. Now, we have been given these five senses also. What a divine gift to have five senses, that I can see and hear and touch and taste and smell. Beautiful, beautiful gifts. What a way to go through life, to have all of these wonderful experiences that my senses are giving me. But they also give me the illusion that we're separate. I see all these faces. I see things around the room here that I am. I can't see that we're one. It's impossible. If I stay within the boundaries of my five senses, if I stay in the boundaries of my personal thinking, I can never reach it. It's not possible. I'm completely caught inside the illusion if I stick to my five senses and my personal mind. So Sydney Banks would say, you must go beyond your five senses. I remember the first time that really hit me. I was like, oh, of course I do. There's no way I can ever experience oneness if I'm caught up in my five senses. So notice, sometimes we have to close our eyes to have this sense, but just to shut off a few of our senses. But notice that when we do fall into this beautiful space of well-being within, that there can come a spontaneous sense of the personal me being away. Now, sometimes this will happen in nature. You're walking somewhere and it just, oh, so beautiful, you're blown away. I got up this morning around 3:30 or 4 o'clock, and the moon was so bright. I walked into the living room and it just struck me. It's like it's a little bit yellow, and on the dark sky, it was just gorgeous. In that moment, just for a split second, there is no personal me. So what is there? What is beyond the person? What is underneath the thinking? What is it that we get in touch with when we see beauty? When we're blown away by looking into a baby's eyes, or our pet's eyes, or seeing something in nature, or a beautiful painting, or something else. What is it that we know? What is it that happens deep inside when we fall in love? Gazing into somebody else's eyes, and this all sense of separation disappears, and there is just oneness. What is it that happens when we read something or hear something that we just know is true? How do we know it? So knowing becomes a guide. Knowing is what guides us home, because it's beyond the word. It's beyond the intellect. It's a feeling. It's a feeling of well-being that we have with us always. Just doesn't seem that way. So it's been really enjoyable exploring this more deeply. And when I share this with groups that I have in the school where I teach coaches, I'm always trying to point them towards seeing this deeper for themselves. Because the deeper our own grounding gets, the easier it is to see where people get lost. when you've seen through the illusion of thought, whatever people come with, whatever story they arrive with, whatever they think is the problem, it's so obvious that it's an illusion that they believe. And what starts to happen, the more grounded you are, is that you don't follow them into the story. You don't buy into the narrative. What happens is that an overwhelming feeling of love and compassion comes up inside of me. And I just want to reach out and hug them and say, it's because you're believing you're thinking right now. It's an illusion. That's usually not how I speak with my clients, but it's what arises in me because it becomes so obvious. So I know that many of you here today are all practitioners and wanting to share this with the world. Well, the best way we can share this with the world is see it for yourself. Become more curious about your own being rather than what's going on in the world. Take your attention from out there to in here. And forget about your clients for a while. Forget about your kids. Forget about your students. Forget about your family. When it comes to grounding, see it for yourself, because as soon as you do, you become a lighthouse. Things start to change around you without you even doing anything, because people will sense your calmness. They will sense your ease. They will know that whatever is going on with them, you won't be thrown off. I remember when my parents many years ago told me that my sister had cancer. I remember my initial reaction was, what? And then it took 1 second and an incredible sense of peace came upon me. And I knew in that moment that it was okay, that she already was completely okay and fine. How could I possibly know that? When we realize that we're connected to life, when we realize that this wisdom that we have access to 24/7 is just here. When we let go of our precious little ego and we fall into this space, we know so much more than this little one ever could, because we're connected to everything. Isn't it the best news ever that we're connected to this wisdom, that we are life, that we are part of creation, that we're not victims of circumstance? It is the best news ever that I have heard, that we are completely okay. Spiritually, we cannot be broken. Mentally, we cannot be broken. It's so interesting to hear people say, oh, I have these deep traumas. Well, what are they made of? And who are you? And what is not broken? So we keep coming back to a spiritual essence. And the more we keep coming back, the more we keep resting in that, the more grounded we become. So I see more and more that grounding is the effect of knowing what it is that creates all experience and knowing who we are in essence. It's such great news, and I'm sure you, like me, want to share this with the world. But before you do, see it for yourself. Continue to see it deeper. It never stops. I'm humbled by how often I see it deeper. Almost on a daily basis, I get a new insight about something. It's not huge. It's not, big orchestra that goes off every time, but it's just like, oh, even preparing today, I love preparing by just sitting quietly, reflecting. And then I often go to one of my favorite books, The Missing Link. But today I also went to Coming Home, to the book I wrote with Dickens, because well-being was a theme at that time. And it was so interesting just looking at different pages and going, oh, I had seen that then, but wow, I'm seeing it even deeper now. There's such joy in the present moment. Where else would you have it? I was speaking with my father the other day. We were talking about meals we've had, on different family trips around the world. And we were talking about these different meals. And it's like you can't take a memory and know exactly how it was. You kind of remember, oh, we had an amazing meal, but joy only happens in the moment. Enjoyment has to happen now. Otherwise, we would just have to have one ice cream and we'd be good for life. But we like ice cream, so we have another one and we have another one, because enjoyment is now. Everything is now. Sure, we can pull up memories. Sometimes memories seem to find us, both the beautiful ones and the ones that were not pleasant while they happened. But they're still illusions. They're not real. They are memories. So the most powerful way of helping people that I've ever seen is helping them wake up to their true essence. And once they see that, it's like things just fall away. We don't even have to work on separate problems or challenges anymore. They seem to just fall away by themselves as they dive deeper into their essence. So notice the feeling. Notice if you can sense it right now. I sometimes like to play a little bit and say, can you be aware of what's to your left? Yeah, I have a window there. Can you be aware of what's to your right? Oh, I have another painting there. So we can take our awareness into lots of different areas, point it towards many different things in our physical space, but also in our thinking space. We are able to use consciousness in that way, that we direct it towards objects or experiences or people. But what if you simply say this to yourself? Am I aware? Where do you go? What do you have to do to answer the question, am I aware? You have to come home. You have to go within to know that you are aware, that you are awareness itself. So the more we can explore this space that's always present, the more full life feels, the more wonderful things unfold, things that we could not imagine. I thought I had a pretty good imagination in my 20s and 30s about what life would look like. Hadn't seen this coming. Didn't know that this was possible. And I want you to know that it's not that life doesn't hit me hard like everyone else. It's not like there isn't death and sickness and lots of different challenges in my life as well. Of course there is. It's just that the way I handle them is coming from a deeper knowing. And so the decisions I make are coming from a space inside where it doesn't feel like I'm even making a choice. I just know what to do. And when I work with people, I often point that out. Well, how did you know what to do? And people kind of go back like this and they go, well, I just knew it. Exactly. So recognizing that knowing is something that we already know, is deep within. It's often something that we notice when we look back through our life. Oh, I made the decision to get a divorce then, or I made a decision to change my jobs then, or I made a decision to move town or whatever. So looking back in time, we can notice that there was something guiding us through all these times. And yet in this present moment, we can be so caught up in our thinking that it doesn't look like we know what knowing is or we know what to do, because our thinking is muddling the whole thing up. But knowing is here, wisdom is here. We are intimately connected to wisdom and life itself. We are one. We are living in oneness. And the more we know this, the more we fall into this sense of well-being. And from that space, we are so much more able to be lighthouses in this world. We're able to help others with our light, with our calmness, with our knowing that every single human being on this planet is okay right now. Even if it doesn't look that way, even if on a physical level, it doesn't look that way. Underneath the world of form, there is pure presence, pure peace, that which cannot be broken. So knowing that can give us hope. Sometimes when people ask the question, well, what about all the horrible things that happen in the world? There really is war going on. Yes, there is. There really is shootings constantly, week after week in the United States. There's so much going on in the world. And often I'm asked, well, what is your response to that? It's very simple. Love more. See truth deeper. Be more compassionate. Live more with peace. Share this understanding. It is the way that I see, it's the only way that I see that we can ever have a peaceful world, is if everyone knows who they are and what creates their experiences from moment to moment. So I'm going to pause here, and I'd love to hear from all of you. Any questions, any reflections, anything you just want to share, please raise your digital hand. It's down in the reactions place, so we can see you. Yes, Shayel, please unmute yourself.
Sorry.
Hi.
Hi, how are you?
I'm good. How are you? The sound is not that good. It's difficult for me to hear you.
Sorry, is this better when I talk louder?
Yes. Thank you.
I found it funny how at the beginning when you spoke, there was something you said about almost like not denying form, but like putting form so low down on the totem pole. And I just thought how ironic and funny it was that the form that was created behind you is so scenic and beautiful, and all the colors and all and like the dichotomy of the two next to each other was just like amazing. It was very interesting. The other thing I really related to at the beginning as well was when you said about the communication. And I found in parenting, there are so many people out there saying, talk to your children like this and talk to your children like that. And my brain doesn't work like that. When I'm in the moment with my children, I talk the way my words come out of my mouth. But I've been in a situation a few years ago where one of my children came in and was terribly upset about something, and I felt myself speeding up, and so I slowed down, and then I gave the child whatever came out of my mouth. And my friend was there, and she said, you speak so respectfully to your children. And I'm not a respectful person at all. So I said, do I? And it was exactly what you're saying. When you're coming from the right feeling, the words come out. And the words that people are saying you should speak, so to speak, but they're not rehearsed, and they're not coming from some kind of theory, or somebody telling you to do it. So yeah, they've like reverse engineered, but it doesn't really it's not really so natural when you do it like that. Okay, so my question is this. So firstly, thank you for that amazing I went into such an amazing space there. I really appreciate you speaking like that. And I just felt like I should ask this question because a client of mine is currently going through a very difficult time. And I find this happens like sometimes a couple times a year, but like this is probably the worst kind of scenario that I've ever had to deal with as a coach. And so it's like you touched on this. The world is perfect, nothing wrong, everything's fine. And yet these are words I could never say to her. And I feel when you talked about being the lighthouse, that really gave me direction. I have to just go deeper inside myself. But I would love a tiny bit more guidance as to, like, when my mind does start worrying about her situation, I have the words that go after that.
Well, you kind of answered it yourself, because you're noticing that your mind kind of goes into worry about her situation. And as you do that, it's like the wave that's moving away from the ocean, and it kind of forgets that it is the ocean. And then when you were speaking before about how you talk to your children, when you're coming from this space, you know exactly what to say. So when we sort of move away from this wisdom, we can't move away from it. It's a metaphor, but we feel it as tension. Uh-oh, I'm starting to worry. Uh-oh, her situation looks impossible to me. Oh no, that's how can I help it? If that happened to me, I'd drown. This is horrible. So the tension you feel, all it's telling you is the quality of your thinking is going down now. You're buying into her illusion, and you become ineffective. Now, our superpower as coaches is we're not living in their heads, but they are trying to get us in there. I notice that with clients all the time. They're like, no, but you have to understand this is really an issue. I mean, my neighbor, this and that, and the cat is da-da, and they're trying to get me into their worldview. But I'm always remaining in this space. And they come down because they always start the conversation like this. And then the more that I just stay and stay and stay, they will start to wind down, and then they will fall into this space. And then the solution will come from themselves. So it's not that I have to give them my wisdom. I just have to invite them into this space inside of them where wisdom is not even their own. It's just wisdom will guide them. So you only have one job, and it's much easier than you think. Guide them into the right space. Does that make sense? I can't hear you.
Sorry, I'm talking. I'm talking quietly. I'll yell again. There was the wave. I just got a really good image there, and I had such a reaction when you said, "I'm buying into her illusion." I thought, not an illusion, but then Natasha said it's an illusion. So hang on, it's an illusion, and I saw what you meant, and it because everything's an illusion. Everything's an illusion. I didn't so properly you said before.
One of my favorite Sydney Banks videos is called The Great Illusion, and I recommend you see it on the Sydney Banks channel. It's very powerful. When we buy into our, now it's not that there isn't a world that's going on out there, of course there is, but that's not what creates our experiences. It's not the world, it's not the circumstances. So in that sense, what their reactions to the world is an illusion, because it is what they think. It's the way they're using the power of thought that is creating the illusion. So the more you can see that for yourself and not buy into her illusion, the more you rest in this knowing of who you are and who we all are, the better able you are to guide her into that space in her, so that she gets the solutions to the challenges that she is facing. Thank you.
It's really not the answer I was looking for. It's very cool. Thank you
Something
so
to
much,
reflect.
Natasha.
Oh, you're welcome, Cheryl. Thank you for speaking and coming today. Hi, Anna.
Hi, Natasha. So good to see you.
Too.
And Tom and everybody. I also had a few kind of things change, and one of the things I noticed is that we listen with our intellect. Another thing I noticed is that we're all capable of hearing truth, and when we hear truth, it doesn't need any thinking. It just touches something in us. And the other thing that came to me is that when we're trying to find solutions in the intellect, the result is that feeling of hopelessness, because that's not where solutions and answers live. So I love that you show me and that you keep reminding us that we are not here to give people answers, but we are here to point them to where the answers can be found. And that sounds a bit cryptic, but something I read recently is that we can talk about our true essence and our true identity, but we can only find it for ourselves in ourselves. So I started noticing the seed. Sometimes at the end of his talk, say, after this, go and found a spot, sit down and get yourself in the state of meditation. And I found that instruction so profound now, because he's sending us back to us. He's saying, go back to you. That's you. That state of meditation, that well-being, that stillness, that God essence, whatever you want to call it, is you. Go back to you. And I just have big feelings for that and for what it does to life, to our lives, and to our clients. So I I am able now to see that most of the people I see are looking for answers in the intellect. And it's not there. It's definitely not there. So when you say, you know, our job is easier than it seems to be for me a while ago, it's because I was intellectually trying to understand what my job was. So going back to myself has been a really transformative thing for everything I do in life. And I appreciate that. And I feel that we know this and we are being reminded through you, through everybody that talks about going within and touching that space. So I appreciate that very, very much. I just wanted to share that. Thank you.
Thank you. And I'm so thrilled that you're seeing that we don't have to talk about the principles. We just have to speak from them,
Mm.
from knowing of them, from our knowing what it is that they are creating in each moment. And that speaking from that space is what invites our clients into this space in themselves. And as you said, that is where the solutions to the challenges lie. They're already there waiting, but they cannot break through a mind that's completely cluttered with thinking about how will I find a solution. It's difficult for it to break through there. But as soon as they relax into us, as soon as they start to have this sense of well-being, it will come. It will always come. It's impossible for wisdom not to break through when we are open and quiet. So great that you saw that, Anna. Thank you. Ellen, my dear friend.
Hello.
Hi.
I just wanted to say that when you were talking about seeing more and more, I'm just completing the book again, once again, reading your book again. And it is amazing the difference between the first time I read it with my intellect and now feeling my way through the book. So I just want to, I mean, it happens with everything I read, but I'm really noticing it with your book because it was so many years ago that I read it. What year did you, what is it?
It came out in 15. We started writing at 14 and came out in 15.
Yeah. And the other thing I wanted to ask you is, there's a beautiful message behind you. Is the one word I can't see over?
Yeah, it is over. It's
Okay.
actually it's a quote from Judith Sedgman. She said it in one of my groups. If it ain't happening now, it's over.
Yeah, I thought I recognized it as Judy's.
Yeah, yeah.
I've used it. I used it.
Thanks.
So thank you, everyone. Thank you for being here, Natasha.
Thank you. Anyone else? Midde. A fellow Dane.
Hi. Thank you for all you're saying here. I have a little problem with the word illusion. Please help me a bit, because it somehow stops something in me, because I have difficult to say this is an illusion because it's here, and so on. So I have problem there. Please, thank you.
Well, there's many different ways of speaking about the illusion. I was just with a physicist last week when I was in the Czech Republic, and he talked a lot about how everything is energy. Like it looks real, right? My hand, everything looks real, but really it's energy in different vibrations. So that I am me is an illusion. That this is a glass is an illusion. It's simply energy and whirling in different speeds or vibrations. Sydney Banks said that we're living in a divine illusion suspended between mind, thought, and matter. It looks real. Everything looks real because we're using our five senses. But it's an illusion. It just looks that way to us. Just like when you dream at night, it looks like it's real. You're walking somewhere, you're having some experience that is either pleasant or unpleasant. But where are you during the whole dream? You're in your own mind. So was it real? No, it was an illusion. Well, this is also an illusion. It's a question, Mette, that it's a good thing to ponder on, because it's not something that the word, I can't define it in a way and then you go, oh, now I understand everything. It's simply it's an invitation for you to go deeper. What does it mean that it's an illusion? So I invite you to do that. Henriette?
Hello, Natasha, can you hear me?
Hi.
Yeah, I just want to say thank you very much for a good speak. And I just want to share a little experience when you talk about the awareness. I really felt your love and your peace and calmness. It's just coming out of my screen and it felt very good inside. I just want to say thank you.
Oh, you're welcome. And you know, it's so interesting because it can look as if it's coming from me, but because I'm speaking from something that's true, it resonates in you. I'm simply a tuning fork.
Yeah, I remember you talked about the stemmegaffel. Yeah, I've heard that before.
So whatever vibration I'm speaking from, it vibrates in you as well. So the feeling that you're getting is from within you, because something inside of you know that this is true. So that's beautiful. Thank you for sharing that.
Yeah, thank you very much.
And Marlene, good to see you again.
Yeah, thanks, Natasha. Thank you for the reminder of being the lighthouse. To me, it makes the whole idea of supporting somebody or coaching somebody, it just simplifies everything. It's not up to me to help them figure things out or even come up with, suggestions. And yeah, I just love that. It makes the whole notion of supporting people just easier, more graceful, more lighthearted. And so, yeah, so thank you for that. And I too have been noticing almost on a daily basis, these little teeny tiny incremental insights. And it's kind of nice. It's like the slow drip method, seeing something newly, frequently. So it's been a lovely journey the last little while. So yeah, so thank you for the reminder that that we're all here to, if we want to share this understanding, to be living in the understanding. Yeah.
See it for yourself first, and all we're ever doing is walking each other home.
Yeah.
It's what we're doing with our clients. It does simplify things. I used to think that coaching was about, before I met the principles, was all about helping the client understand what is the problem, what is the magnitude of it, what are all the details about it, and then how can we solve it, what solutions are possible, and let's make a plan and let's make a contract. There was all these steps, and now it's just I have one job. Sit in this feeling for myself, stay in my grounding, invite my client into this space inside of them, and I know something more beautiful will come up. Even if we just listen with big ears and a loving heart, I mean, that itself would create a huge difference in the world if people listened from this space inside of themselves, even if they didn't speak.
Thank you.
Thanks. My Norwegian friend, Nina.
Hi,
Hi.
I'm so glad to be here. And when you speak about oneness, I think I've said this to you before, but I want to say it again, because when I get touched by what you are saying, as you said, there is a resonate, what you says resonate inside of me. And then there is this feeling of I am you and you are me. We are one. You can't touch me if we are not one. This energy that resonates, the waves that hit and follow each other, it becomes so kind of visible to me that this is the oneness. And you speak so beautiful about that the knowing is coming through beauty, through love, truth. And I realized when you talked about that you also mentioned longing. And I was really touched because I could feel how much the longing has guided me through my life. Since I was a little girl, I was longing to understand, what is life really about? When will my mother speak to me about this deeper life? There was a longing, and it has never stopped. It has brought me in the direction. I thought I was sometimes in a kind of a wrong direction, but the longing kept me through everything that I have experienced. And as if longing is a kind of a magnetism that takes me home. And when you talked about it, and I could see this, that how much longing has guided me, comes a very powerful string, or whatever I should call it, a powerful energy that we have. We are all longing after something good. Sometimes we try to protect us and we can't find the good, but we are always longing for being good, to have something good, to experience love, goodness, peace, beauty. It's such obvious that it's guiding us all the time. And it becomes so big for me when you spoke about it.
It's beautiful.
Yeah. I'm so grateful to be able to join. And I'm longing, sometimes I'm longing to listen more to you or to someone else. And then I get this again, and the longing is a big, big guide. It's love.
It is love, and it's like the wave longing to be the ocean, not realizing that it's already the ocean.
Mm.
So that's why I'm using the word waking up to
Mm.
your treasure, the wave waking up, going, oh, wow, I am ocean.
Mm.
Then the longing disappears. And
Mm.
it's that happened to me when I not right at the beginning when I met the principles, but a few years into it, the longing disappeared, the searching disappeared. It's like the search is over.
Mm,
And that's really profound when that happens.
yeah. As if the longing is becoming a home, or the whole, it gets so close. Became the same, doesn't it really? I don't know. We don't have to analyze it. It's just coming home.
Yeah, the thing is that the longing often is then people think, oh, I must be longing for security. And then
Yeah.
security might be in the form of money or a home or a job or a partner or whatever it is, or children. And not knowing that you just want to fall into the space. That's really what you're longing for, is to come home.
Yeah.
But we don't know that. So we're looking out
Yeah.
there for something that's already ours, already here.
Yes.
Thank you, Nina.
Thank you.
Well, thank you so much, Natasha. This has just been the most beautiful time together. And I wonder, before I tell people about the next webinar, do you anything else you want to say in closing?
No, I'm just really grateful that you're here. And you know, if you are a practitioner, that if you have a wanting to share this with others, I really, really recommend you to go back and watch sit videos, read the books. It's gold, it's truth, it's right there. It took me a while, I have to admit, the first couple of years when I was reading it, my intellect was getting too caught up, but now I just, every time I read it, I fall into this space. And looking at him when I listen to videos as well, I fall into that space because he's speaking from that knowing. He's seen it. And we can see it too. We can all see it because it's truth. It's who we are in essence. So I highly recommend that you do that. See this for yourself, deepen your grounding. And from that, it will be a beautiful sharing with the entire world. So thank you everyone for coming.
Yeah. Well, thank you again. And then our next time together will be Tuesday, May 30th, again at 2 p.m. Eastern, and we'll have Christian McNeil and Barbara Sarah Smith, and they will be talking about the power of being in service. So join us if you can. And yeah, and thank you again so much. And if you want to unmute yourself and say thank you and goodbye, please feel free.
Thank you.
Thank you, Natasha.
Bye.
Thanks.
Bye.
Bye-bye.
No, thank you.
Thank you
so much. Thanks. Bye-bye.
Bye. Bye. Thank you.
That's all.
Thanks, everybody.
Thanks, Natasha. Thank you, everybody.
Thank you.
Thank you.